At a spring banquet, I beat the crown prince at a game of guessing hidden objects. I leaned to his ear and said smugly, "You idiot, you can forget about ever beating me in this lifetime." The words had barely left my mouth when an imperial edict arrived, granting me in marriage to him and naming me crown princess. I was stunned. The crown prince leaned close, smiling. "Idiot wife, if you've got any real skill, try beating me in bed." Later, it was him, in tears, begging me to stop. The crown prince Ethan and I had been at odds since childhood. I dug pits, he filled them in. I wrote poems, he picked them apart. I climbed trees, he stood underneath and shook them. I hit him, and he ran to tattle. Whatever I did, he had to go against me. When I was 14, I painted a scroll titled "100 Birds Paying Court to Phoenix" and presented it to the Empress. Ethan clasped his hands behind his back, glanced at it, and said, "This quail's gathering is nicely done." Enraged, I pulled the gold hairpin from my hair and chased him all over the Eastern Palace. The next day, he actually told the Empress I was madly in love with him and pursued him relentlessly. I'd already found him annoying on sight. Now it was worse. I had to see him every single day. The eunuch delivering the decree still stood before me, everyone waiting for my reaction. I let out a soft sigh. I thank His Majesty for his boundless favor. I raised my hands and accepted the edict. The days ahead would not be easy. Our wedding was set for after the Mid-Autumn Festival. Though there was still time, the entire manor was already in an uproar. Seamstresses were appointed to embroider the wedding robes and the red bridal veil. My mother was busy overseeing every detail. I was the only one left idle. Feeling unnecessary, I changed into light men's clothes and headed for the back wall, planning to climb out and listen to an opera. I had just slipped under the wall when I heard the sounds of a fight. Looking up, I saw two dark figures grappling on top of our wall. They traded punches and curses as they fought. I gathered my courage and hid beneath a tree to listen. They were so busy beating each other, they didn't even notice me. The crown prince of the realm, sneaking over a subject's wall at night. Truly disgraceful, one shadow said. Bah, so only I am disgraceful. If Prince Adrian hadn't climbed over a wall, how would he have met me? The other spat back. How can you compare yourself to me? I grew up with Lily as childhood sweethearts. Our feelings are true and deep. Oh, spare me. Everyone knows you're infatuated with the Minister of Revenue's illegitimate daughter now, cherishing her like a pearl in your palm. It was you who cast Lily aside. Now that I'm going to marry her, you jump out to interfere. Aren't you disgusting? Hearing this, I silently rolled my eyes at the two silhouettes. One heir apparent and one prince, climbing my family's wall in the middle of the night and brawling on top of it. The absurdity was beyond words. Still, what they said was all true. The three of us had grown up together. The crown prince Ethan was the empress's own son. Prince Adrian's concubine mother had died. He was raised under the empress's care. The empress was also my maternal cousin. I often entered the imperial palace to visit her, and over time, I became familiar with the two princes. Compared to the Ethan, who opposed me at every turn, Adrian was much gentler and kinder. He quietly remembered all my likes and dislikes, and often sent me little trinkets to amuse me. He was attentive to my moods, laughing and fooling around with me when I was happy, offering comfort when I was sad. When I was 14, he gave me a little rabbit. I was overjoyed and doted on it, yet somehow still managed to raise it to death. I broke down in tears and in the end caught a chill from it and ran a high fever for several days. He knelt in the Empress's courtyard to beg for a physician on my behalf, then stood outside my room all night. When I finally recovered, he looked at me with reddened eyes and said, "Lily, I thought I'd never see you again." At the time, I believed he loved me. Until 3 years ago, when he suddenly started entangling himself with the Minister of Revenue's illegitimate daughter, Rose Feng. They said Rose had fallen seriously ill 3 years earlier. When she woke, her temperament had completely changed. The timid, cringing girl of the past suddenly grew a backbone overnight. She went about proclaiming equality for all, and even trampled her legitimate mother and elder sister underfoot. At several poetry gatherings she showed her face, and her verses outshone everyone else's. Even mine were overshadowed by hers. After that, I don't know how it happened, but she became Ethan Xiao, Adrian Xiao's regular honored guest. Every time I went to Prince Adrian's residence to see him, Rose was there. She would cower behind Adrian Xiao, looking at me with eyes as innocent as a fawn's. Elder sister Lu, do you not like me being here? If so, Rosie can leave. Before I could answer, Adrian Xiao spoke first. Of course not. Lily has always been very magnanimous. Then he fondly ruffled her hair and turned to look at me. Right, Lily? Watching the two of them so intimate, I felt as though dropped into an ice cellar. All the tender affection that had once belonged to me seemed to be sucked away in that instant, leaving behind only a trembling shell. I swallowed the sourness in my chest and kept a polite smile on my face. Your Highness jokes. There's no entanglement between us. So where does magnanimity come into it? Since your Highness likes Miss Fen, as your friend, I am naturally happy for you. The sudden distance in my tone made Adrian Xiao's brows knit. He instinctively probed, Lily, what do you mean by that? I couldn't be bothered to explain, and simply turned to leave. He was about to come after me, when behind us, someone cried out, Something's wrong, Miss Feng has fainted. I stopped and looked back. Adrian Xiao's face was ugly. He stood there at a loss. A moment later, he steeled himself, turned, scooped Rose Feng into his arms, and ran for the door. As he passed me, he even crashed into my shoulder. I watched his retreating back and laughed bitterly in my heart. So this was the man I'd loved for years. This man, this feeling, it had been wrong from the start. From then on, I put that love away and stopped seeing him. It was Adrian Xiao who came looking for me a few times. He said it was to apologize, but what he really did was scold. He stood at the gate of my little courtyard, face as dark as thunder. Rosie has a soft nature, and she's an illegitimate daughter. She can't possibly fight you. You will surely be the principal wife in the future. Why must you press her so hard? I almost laughed from anger. I am the legitimate daughter of Chancellor Lu's house. I've no interest in the paltry position of your princess consort. Whoever wants it, give it to her. After that, I never saw him again. I didn't expect that after my marriage to the crown prince was settled, he would be sneaking over my wall at night. Did he mean to persuade me to defy the edict and break the engagement? Truly laughable. The two on the wall were locked in a stalemate. I sighed and stepped out from behind the tree. Stop fighting. Who's going to fix the wall if you break it? At the sound of my voice, Ethan turned his head to look at me and almost took a punch from Adrian. He cursed. Adrian Xiao, you bastard! How dare you sucker punch me? Despicable, shameless little man! As he spoke, he slipped on a tile, and a shard of roofing crashed to the ground. Hands on my hips, I snapped. You're no better, and that tile costs a tael of silver. Adrian Xiao, suddenly emboldened as if someone had his back, laughed smugly. See that? The person Lily loves most is me. You'd best give up early. Then he leapt from the wall, bringing 2 more tiles down with him. They shattered into pieces. I jumped in fright. You scared me half to death. Those will cost you 10 taels. Before I'd finished speaking, both of them landed beside me at the same time, each grabbing one of my arms. I stared at them, stunned. Fight all you want. What's it got to do with me? I still want to live a few more years. The noise of the scuffle quickly drew the manor guards. Seizing the chance, Ethan punched Adrian, then scooped me up and vaulted over the wall, vanishing into the night. I twisted to look back. Under the inky sky, torch flames flared and swiftly surrounded the place where Adrian Xiao had been. He was going to be in trouble. Ethan snorted in displeasure, reached over and physically turned my head back to face him. Heart aching for him? Not for someone not worth it, I said with disdain. Satisfied, he set me down and asked, Then am I worth it? You broke into an official's residence and are currently abducting a decent maiden, I shot back. You tell me if that's worth anything. His eyes dimmed and he put on a hurt expression. Lily, you wrong me. I heard you were in low spirits today, so I specially brought you a gift. Adrian Xiao blocked my way. At the word gift, my eyes lit up. A gift? What kind of gift? Show me. He gave me a triumphant sidelong glance and pulled something wrapped in oiled paper from his front. It smelled delicious. I heard you like rabbits, so I bought you half of one. It's still hot. I stared dumbly at the half-roasted rabbit in his hand, my pupils trembling. Ethan Xiao, I'm going to kill you. I chased Ethan for another mile. He ran while repeatedly glancing back to see if I was still following, a face just begging for a beating. In the end, I was exhausted and stopped, panting with anger. Ethan Xiao, if I ever catch you, I'll beat you to death. He finally halted and came back with a grin. All right, I'll let you beat me, okay? I thumped his chest twice with my fists. My knuckles bounced off the firm muscles there. The feel was interesting. Not quite convinced, I gave him 2 more punches to test it. Once my anger was vented, the 2 of us found a corner to eat the roast rabbit. Ethan Xiao turned his head, watching me. Is it good? I answered through tears, yes. He frowned, puzzled. Then why did you hit me? I thought it over. I don't like rabbits anymore. I won't ever like them again. He didn't seem to understand the meaning hidden in my words. He scratched his head. Then I'll buy you roast goose in the future. How about that? I couldn't help but laugh. When I returned, my maid Ivy leapt off the bed and complained, Miss, you're finally back. There was a thief in the manor tonight. Madame Lu tried to come in and check several times, but Prince Adrian stopped her. Otherwise, we'd have been exposed. I frowned. Prince Adrian? He wasn't arrested? Ivy said. Prince Adrian came to help catch the thief. He said he saw the thief climbing over the wall and went up to fight him, but the thief escaped. Many servants and guards saw it. I was speechless. Adrian Xiao truly was skilled at lying. In a few casual sentences, he turned the crown prince into a thief and himself into a righteous hero. Still, fortunate he hadn't mentioned Ethan and me. After this incident, security at Chancellor's Manor tightened. The walls were no longer so easy to climb, and Adrian Xiao had to behave himself. Ethan Xiao, however, relied on our betrothal and came over every 2 or 3 days. I found him annoying. I often claimed illness to avoid seeing him and only kept the roast goose. Winter passed, and spring came. The perfect time to admire flowers. Princess Lydia invited the noble ladies of the capital city to Princess's Manor for a flower viewing banquet, and I was on the guest list. I didn't expect Rose Feng to be there too. She wore a bright red jacket and skirt embroidered with butterflies among blossoms, her hair heavy with pearls and jade. Holding Adrian Xiao's arm, she entered with a triumphant tilt to her brows and eyes. Not far away, under a crabapple tree, the legitimate daughter of the House of Feng, Julia Feng, had been squeezed into a corner. Several richly dressed ladies nearby tittered and whispered, "Look at that illegitimate girl of the House of Feng, dressed so gaudily. She makes her legitimate sister look like a concubine's child. Indeed, just look at the airs she's putting on. She'll probably try to outshine even the princess." Hey now, Princess Lydia's banquet is for noble ladies of the capital city. That illegitimate girl from the House of Feng surely doesn't qualify. How did she come here, skipping over her stepmother? Keep your voice down. She's latched on to Prince Adrian. That's not something we could do. Their laughter grew louder, and Julia Feng's face grew more and more strained. She lowered her head, smoothed her skirt, and walked toward Rose Feng and Adrian Xiao. "Third sister?" Julia called softly, then said, "We both belong to the House of Feng. When we go out, every word and deed represents the family's name. You're still unmarried. It isn't proper to be overly intimate with a man in public." Rose Feng glanced at her lazily. "So eldest sister thinks my conduct is frivolous and is shaming the House of Feng?" Julia bit her lip. "I didn't mean that." "Oh? Then what do you mean? You women in the ancient world are all so pedantic. Always, men and women should keep their distance. Always, legitimate and illegitimate are different. You just look down on me. I'm telling you, people should be equal. You can't bully me." As she spoke, she burst into tears, drawing quite a crowd to watch the drama. As more and more people gathered, Julia's face could no longer keep up a proper expression. She fled in tears. The commotion was too big. Princess Lydia's expression soured. This was her banquet. Yet Rose Feng was loudly making a scene without a thought for the princess's dignity. Yet a princess was still a princess. She couldn't lower herself to handle such messiness. Among the women present, aside from those of the imperial clan, my status was the highest. Sure enough, I was sipping tea and people watching when I felt a cold gaze from behind. Turning, I met Princess Lydia's earnest eyes. That's it. Too late to play blind now. I had no choice but to brace myself and walk toward Rose Feng. When she saw me coming, she shrank into Adrian Xiao's arms like a startled bird. Forcing down my disgust, I said, "Third Miss Feng, your elder sister's words were not wrong." Why humiliate her in public? Madame Feng is known for her virtue. Dressed so richly, more splendid than your elder sister, you can see your family hasn't treated you harshly. You should repay kindness with kindness and consider the House of Feng's reputation and your sister's future. Shouldn't you? Rose snorted. These clothes and ornaments were all given by Prince Adrian. What has that to do with the House of Feng? Stop pretending to be the good one here. That one line almost made me explode. I turned to Adrian Zhao, my gaze carrying a hint of warning. Words can bring disaster, Your Highness. Are you sure you don't want to rein her in? Realizing how serious this could be, he dropped his smile and said sharply to Rose, Rosie, apologize to Miss Liu and your elder sister now. Rose still pouted, unwilling. I turned back and gave Princess Lydia a small shake of my head. I had offered them a way down, but if Adrian Xiao and Rose Feng refused to give the princess face, there was nothing I could do. The grudge between them and Princess Lydia was now sealed. All the while, oblivious Rose was casting me a triumphant, provocative look. I sighed inwardly. Fool, fool, she'd drag herself and Adrian Xiao to ruin sooner or later. And what did that have to do with me? Respect other people's destiny. Don't meddle. Near noon, the princess held a banquet and invited everyone to be seated. I drank a few more cups than usual. My head was spinning, so I took Ivy and went to the lakeside for some air. Halfway there, I ran right into Rose Feng. Feeling my luck had turned bad, I turned to leave. Well now, isn't this Sister Liu? Why are you leaving the moment you see me? Are you jealous that Prince Adrian favors only me? Her voice rose and fell in a shrill, mocking tone. Listening to her, I only wanted to slice open her throat and shove a duck in there. That would sound better. Seeing I didn't answer, she only grew bolder. Lily Liu, don't be so smug. You think you'll be safe once you become crown princess? Let me tell you, as long as the crown prince hasn't ascended the throne, no one knows whose that dragon seat will be. I was dying of laughter inside and didn't dare reply. Princess's manner was full of eyes and ears. The moment Rose opened her mouth, she spoke words of treason. I still had 9 clans behind me. All I wanted now was to get as far away from her as possible so the fire wouldn't spread. When she saw me trying to leave, she quickly blocked my path and flicked a glance somewhere behind me. She leaned close to my ear and smiled. Do you know why Prince Adrian doesn't like you? Girls like you from great families are so boring, with no schemes at all. Watch and learn. I'll show you what a real household strategist looks like. With that, she suddenly grabbed my hand and tugged a few times, then let out a shriek and leapt into the lake. Rosie! Adrian Xiao's anxious shout came from behind. He didn't even glance at me. There was a splash as he plunged straight into the water. The two of them thrashed about in a life-and-death embrace, like a dramatic show. I shook my head and sighed. 2 idiots. Their 9 clans were nearly doomed, and they were still playing household intrigue with me? After about half a stick of incense, Adrian Xiao finally managed to haul Rose from the lake. She was shivering violently, her eyes rolling back, sputtering up water. Even in that state, she didn't forget to cling to his sleeve and gasp, Your Highness! It wasn't Sister Liu's fault. Rosie fell in by accident. Then she cried in earnest. I found her professionalism admirable. As expected, Adrian Xiao's heart ached at once. He took off his outer robe and draped it over her shoulders. Then he strode over to me, fury in his eyes. I know you resent her because of me, but she doesn't deserve to die. How could you treat her with such cruelty? I didn't bother denying it. I looked at him calmly. Oh, I can't? But do you know what she just said? She said that you, Your Highness, are about to rebel and seize the throne. What? Adrian Xiao's eyes flew wide. He glanced back at the pitiful Rose, then dropped his voice. Even so, you shouldn't want her life, not for my sake. I could only stare. I rolled my eyes at him. Don't flatter yourself. And she jumped in by herself. Believe it or not, that's up to you. I turned to leave. But to my surprise, Rose suddenly crawled over and clung to my leg, crying, Sister Liu, please let me go. I know I shouldn't have stolen your Prince Adrian, but my feelings for him are sincere. I had never met someone so eager to die. Before I could retort, Ethan Xiao suddenly appeared from nowhere. He raised his foot and kicked at Rose's face in a flurry, muttering, What is this thing? How dare you attack the future crown princess? Die, damn you! Rose shrieked and wailed under his kicks. Adrian Xiao rushed forward to stop him. Your Highness, Rosie is the woman I love. How can you treat her like this? Ethan Xiao glanced down at Rose and froze, then pointed at her. You call this bedraggled, soaking wet creature crawling in the dirt the woman you love? I thought it was a water ghost. Heh? I failed to hold back a laugh. When both princes turned to look at me, I forcefully swallowed it down. I pressed my lips together, cheeks puffing, trying to suppress the rising corners of my mouth. My hands dug hard into my thighs. At that moment, I thought over every tragedy I'd ever suffered in my life. Because of Rose's screams, a small crowd had gathered by the lake. They hid their smiles behind their fans. Adrian Xiao glanced around, clearly feeling humiliated, and moved to help Rose leave. Wait, did I say she could go? The crown prince stood with his hands behind his back, his tone light, but the authority in it left no room for refusal. Intimidated, Adrian Xiao lowered his voice. Then what does your highness propose? Rose Feng has made a scene in public and offended the future crown princess. I'll have her kneel here for half an hour. Not excessive, is it? At the word, kneel, Rose started sobbing again. Just then, Princess Lydia arrived. For the princess's sake, Adrian Xiao had to relent. The banquet wasn't over yet. When the spectators saw the show was done, they returned to their seats. Rose was left alone, kneeling by the lake. I excused myself, claiming I was still drunk, and wandered idly through the garden. Ethan Xiao, seeing I didn't go back to my seat, trailed after me. Thank you for just now, I said, turning to him. He pursed his lips in a smile, looking a bit embarrassed. Lily is my future crown princess. Helping you is only right. Seeing the faint blush on his cheeks, I arched a brow. Only that? He coughed nervously and tried to sound composed. Oh, of course. Oh. Then I'll be off. I made to leave and he quickly caught my sleeve. After fumbling for words a while, he took a deep breath. Father and I were in council today. As soon as I left the imperial study, someone came to report that you were being bullied. I rode hard to get here. Luckily, you're all right. He finished with his head down and his cheeks red, eyes darting away. Like a shy young bride, he looked so easy to bully that a mischievous urge rose in me. I crooked my finger. Lower your head. Surprise flashed in his eyes and he obediently bent down. Even his ears were red now. I raised a hand and plucked a leaf from his hair, waving it before him. Done. He stared at the leaf in my hand, then pouted, a little disappointed. That's it? Nothing else? I rolled my eyes. Your Highness, what's on your mind? He suddenly flushed again, his words stumbling. Nothing, I wasn't thinking anything. Then he turned and walked straight toward the lake. Alarmed, I grabbed him. Your Highness, that way is the lake. Oh, I know, that's the lake, haha. He turned in another direction and walked straight into a tree. I nearly died laughing. What a big fool. Ethan Xiao dashed off like a startled rabbit, and once more it was just Ivy and me. As I walked, I mulled over what he'd said. Someone had reported I was being bullied. Who? The more I thought, the more likely it seemed to be Princess Lydia. She had the crown prince come deal with Adrian Xiao and the troublesome Rose, and under the guise of saving me, she did him a favor. She offended neither side, and still came out ahead. Impressive calculation. Princess Lydia was the only daughter of the late noble consort Rose Zhang, and the emperor's eldest child. She was very favored. She'd had no wish to get involved in court struggles. Whoever ascended the throne, she would still be the most exalted eldest princess, so there was no need to compete. But at the flower-viewing banquet that day, Adrian Xiao, for Rose's sake, disregarded the princess's face entirely. He was only a prince now, and already allowed Rose to run wild. If he ever became emperor, he would likely think even less of Princess Lydia. By now, her inner scales had probably tipped quietly toward the crown prince. Sure enough, 3 days later, Princess Lydia asked the emperor to grant me the title of Lady of Qingping County. That title was reserved for women of the imperial clan. Princess Lydia merely said I was virtuous and reasonable, a model for all women, never mentioning the banquet at all. The ministers were not fools. They saw that only days after my engagement to the crown prince was announced, I was extraordinarily made a county lady. It showed how much the emperor valued the crown prince. Some of those who had secretly backed Prince Adrian began to waver. Adrian Xiao, seeing the situation, still refused to give up. He even tried to win ministers over in private. He was going further and further down the road of self-destruction. After the flower festival, the emperor led the princes and their families on a spring hunt at Hollow Peak Mountain. I went along. Hollow Peak Mountain was our dynasty's hunting ground. Each spring and autumn, we held hunts there. In spring, when wild game was scarce, they first released pheasants, hares, foxes, and other small animals into the mountains. This time, they even released a brown bear. The princes quietly competed to see who could be the first to bring it down. After a day, the crown prince and Prince Adrian had the most game, but no one had seen the bear. I never cared about such things. After the evening feast, I got up to leave. Seeing me go, Ethan Shao hurried after me, carrying a fine black fox. "Lily," he called out to me, face radiant with joy. "Look, I hunted an excellent black fox today. I'll have it made into a stole for you. You'll look beautiful in it." Seeing his silly expression, I teased, "Idiot, if you've hunted something so fine, you should give it to the Empress first. Why give it to me?" He leaned close with a grin. "Mother already has one, this one's for you." I rolled my eyes. "Oh, so I get whatever's left over. I don't want it." With that, I walked away. After a few steps I looked back, and he was gone. A nameless anger flared. I'd only been joking, and this fool got upset? Fine, I was upset too. Fuming, I picked up a dead branch from the ground and started whacking the grass at my feet. Under my breath I muttered, "Damn Ethan Shao, stupid Ethan Shao, ignoring me, are you? I'll beat you, beat you." Just as I knocked down a few blades of grass, a long shadow appeared on the ground before me, stretched by the moonlight. My heart leapt. I pursed my lips and pretended to be angry. "Oh, now you come to coax me?" I turned and froze. It wasn't the crown prince. It was Adrian Xiao. Instantly my mood soured. "What are you doing here?" He stood in the moonlight, a trace of sorrow between his brows. "Lily, are you really gonna marry the crown prince?" As he spoke, he raised his hand, trying to touch my shoulder. I instinctively dodged, but still felt his fingers brush my outer robe. "Your Highness, please have some self-respect," I said sharply, twisting away. Hurt flashed across his face. "Lily, why must you treat me like this? How ironic. When I'd loved him, he'd treated me like nothing. Now that I was marrying someone else, he came to question me. Cheap bones indeed." I gave a mocking smile. "Yes, I like the crown prince, and he likes me. What's wrong with my marrying him?" He lowered his head and stayed silent for a long time, then ground out, "Very well, don't regret it." He turned and walked away without a backward glance. Was he sick? My irritation grew. A hand clapped my shoulder suddenly. I spun around, bristling. Ethan Shao stood behind me, smiling, a flower crown in his hands. "Lily, look what I made for you. I picked and wove it myself, unique in all the world. Not even Mother has one." My anger drained away by half at the sight of it. "You ran off just now to make this?" I asked. He nodded and showed me his hands. "Yes. See, my hands got cut in several places from picking the flowers." I lowered my head. Sure enough, there were 2 long scratches. A pang of distress went through me. "Does it hurt?" I took his hand, wanting to blow on the wounds. Halfway through the motion, I froze. Was I feeling sorry for Ethan Xiao? Didn't I detest him? What was wrong with me? When I realized what I was doing, I quietly let go of his hand. He wasn't pleased and clung to me. "Lily, do you not like me?" My thoughts were in turmoil. I didn't know how to answer, so I simply walked ahead. He fell silent and followed behind. After a while, he gently set the flower crown on my head, his tone tinged with sadness. "Lily, even if you don't like me, it's all right. It's enough that I like you. I believe someday you'll see me." I stopped and looked up at him. Under the dazzling stars, he stood tall in moon-white robes, his eyes filled with earnest affection. For the first time I realized Ethan Shao could look handsome too. Why had I never noticed before? Perhaps because he was usually so irritating? I nodded to myself inwardly. Yes, that must be it. Actually, it's not that I don't like you. My heart was a total mess. I twisted my handkerchief, not knowing how to begin, when a sudden shove sent me flying. "Lily, look out." I fell to the ground. Lifting my head, I saw a huge shadow looming ahead, its raised forepaw scraping across the crown prince's left shoulder. A bear. I cried out, and it turned on me, roaring, charging straight at us. "Lily, run!" Ethan Shao pushed himself up and grabbed my hand, pulling me into a run. The brown bear thundered after us. Breathless, I gasped out, "Isn't it supposed to be blind as a bat? How can it see us in the dark?" He gripped my hand tighter. Don't be afraid, with me here, I won't let it hurt you. As soon as he said it, the ground suddenly dropped away beneath my feet. I screamed. He yanked me into his arms, but it was too late. We tumbled down a slope together. Wind roared past my ears. Fallen leaves and branches scratched at us with creaks and snaps. I was wrapped in his warm embrace but still bruised all over. Finally, with a heavy crash, we hit something and came to a stop. A muffled groan sounded above me. I scrambled up to check on him. In the dim moonlight, I saw a trace of blood at the corner of Ethan Xiao's mouth. Panic shot through me. I cradled him in my arms. Ethan Xiao, what's wrong? He coughed lightly, his voice weak. I'm fine, Lily. Don't worry. The light was too poor to see his wounds clearly. My heart burned with anxiety. After a while, I forced myself to calm down. The first priority was to get back to the camp. Once there, the imperial physicians could treat him. But where were we? I looked up. Before us lay a low but sheer cliff. In our current state, scaling it was impossible. We'd have to find another way out. I felt around his body. Thankfully, he wasn't bleeding heavily. I helped him rise and asked softly, "How do you feel? Can you walk?" He rested his head against my shoulder and gave a muffled, In the darkness beneath the trees, I groped around until I found a sturdy branch and pressed it into his hand. Supporting him, I led the way forward. I didn't know how long we walked before we found a cave. It seemed we'd have to spend the night there. I eased him to the ground and reached for his outer robe. He immediately clutched it protectively. Don't. I'm fine. That was precisely why I knew he wasn't. If you don't let me see your wounds, I'll never speak to you again. I snapped, tugging at his robe. He finally let go and let me do as I pleased. Once the outer layer was off, I reached into his inner garments. A faint metallic tang reached my nose. My fingers came away wet. My heart lurched into my throat. My mind buzzed. He was hurt and badly. Would he die? A wave of fear crashed over me. Tears rolled down my cheeks before I could stop them, and soon I was sobbing. Hearing me, he pulled me into his arms, his nose nuzzling at my ear. Don't cry, Lily. You're not pretty when you cry. It's not the time for jokes, I choked. He bit back a groan and tried to laugh. You're the one I love most. I want you to be happy. I don't want to see you sad. I wrapped my arms around him. Then get better and I'll stop crying. If you die, I'll be sad for the rest of my life. His embrace tightened. He pressed a gentle kiss to my neck, his tears falling there, cold as ice. Lily, he whispered, if that happens, dying would be worth it. I held him all night, checking his breathing again and again. Only then did I realize how terrified I was of losing him. I really had fallen in love with him. Dawn slowly broke. In the clearer light, I bandaged his wounds. There were injuries to his shoulder, waist, and back. His right leg was hurt as well. He wouldn't be able to walk. We'd be living here a few days. After I finished bandaging him, I went out and gathered wild fruit. Ethan Xiao had once served in the army and knew which fruits were edible and which were poisonous. I picked more of the types he pointed out. Barely enough to keep us going. At night, worried he'd catch a chill, I took off my outer robe and laid it over him. A faint, strange smell tickled my nose. It was an odd scent. I followed it and realized it came from the shoulder of my outer robe. Shoulder. Strange smell. There. Could it be? I suddenly remembered seeing Adrian Xiao before the bear attacked us. He had brushed my shoulder with his hand. I hadn't thought anything of it then. But now, why had the brown bear appeared so close to the camp? How could it chase us so unerringly in the dark? A bear's eyesight was poor, but its sense of smell was incredibly sharp. It could catch a scent from miles away. So Adrian Xiao had smeared something on my shoulder that attracted the bear. He had meant to kill both me and Ethan Xiao. Cold sweat broke out down my back. I had thought the worst between us would be becoming strangers. I hadn't expected him to stoop to murder. If he couldn't have me, he'd destroy me and take the crown prince with me, thus clearing his path to heir apparent. Adrian Xiao, I had underestimated you. My fingers clenched. Hatred surged up from my chest. Since he insisted on this, I no longer owed him any sentiment at all. With that thought, I quickly folded up my outer robe and hugged it to my chest. Ethan Xiao, I'm going to scout the way tomorrow. Wait here for me. His eyes dimmed, his voice choked. All right, go then. He thought I was abandoning him. It was as if an invisible hand squeezed my heart, tightening until it hurt. I hugged him gently. I won't leave you. I'll bring help back. Trust me and wait for me, all right? He nodded, saying nothing. At daybreak, I gathered a heap of fruit and piled it in the cave like a little hill. Before going, I patted his head. Don't move around. Stay here and wait for me. Then I left with the robe in my arms. On it was proof of Adrian Xiao's attempt on the crown prince's life. The scent wouldn't last long. I had to reach the camp quickly. It might attract the bear again, so I needed to leave Ethan Xiao behind, lest he be hurt a second time. I jogged to the cliff we had fallen from. It wasn't high, but for me, climbing up would be hard. I had no choice but to hazard it. I put the robe back on and started to climb barehanded. I fell several times. My fingernails dug into the dirt and snapped. Blood streamed down my hands. Tears of pain blurred my vision, but I kept going. Because I knew Ethan Xiao was waiting, I had to make it back alive. On the 5th try, I finally dragged myself over the edge. Elated, I stripped off the robe and clutched it to my chest, running as fast as I could toward the camp. I don't know how long I ran before the silhouettes of tents emerged ahead. At the same time, I heard a roar behind me. The bear. 2 guards were patrolling nearby. I staggered toward them, shouting, "Hey, I'm Chancellor Lu's legitimate daughter, the Crown Prince's future wife. Help me." At once they spurred their horses toward me. One guard hauled me up onto his saddle. From horseback, I looked back and saw the other guards already engaging the bear. The imperial guards were well trained. They soon brought the animal down. Relief washed through me. I turned to the guard carrying me. "Take me to the emperor. Now." In the imperial command tent, I knelt and wept as I recounted how the crown prince and I had been attacked. The emperor immediately ordered guards to go rescue him where I said he lay. I led the way personally. Half a day later, Ethan Xiao was finally brought back. The emperor summoned all the imperial physicians. They crowded around him in a dark mass. I glanced around and quietly moved to stand beside the most skilled of them, Physician Li. His mind was on the crown prince, and he didn't notice me at first. After a moment, he frowned, sniffed the air, and asked me, "My lady, there's a scent on you. May I examine your robe?" "All right." I slipped off my outer robe and handed it to him. At once, everyone's attention focused on us, even the emperor's. Physician Li brought the robe to his nose and sniffed. Then he suddenly knelt. "Your Majesty, this humble servant has something to report. Please dismiss the others." We were all ordered out, leaving only Physician Li and the emperor. I stood outside, waiting. As I expected, shortly afterward the emperor summoned me back in. The moment I knelt, a glazed cup crashed to the ground beside me, nearly hitting my knee. "Girl of the Lu clan," the emperor roared. "Have I not treated your family well? Why would you plot against the crown prince?" "Father, Lily would never harm me." Ethan Xiao struggled upright and said weakly, "There must be some mistake." Still furious, the emperor glared at me. "A mistake? Very well. Describe that night from start to finish. If you lie even once, you'll die where you kneel." I nodded and told him everything. When I got to the part where I met Adrian Xiao and he brushed my shoulder, I gave every detail, making it especially vivid. By the time I finished, the emperor's face was like water, black and deep. With his suspicious nature, I knew he was convinced. Sure enough, once I was done, his expression eased a little. Sensing this, Ethan Xiao quickly pleaded for me. "Father, Lily is promised to be my crown princess. If I died, how would that benefit her? Our relationship is deep and true. She would never harm me." The emperor glanced at me, then flicked his sleeve. "Enough. You may go. I have words for the crown prince." I bowed and withdrew. After the emperor left, I slipped into the crown prince's tent. To my surprise, he showed no joy at seeing me. He turned away and showed me only his back. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or be angry. I patted him lightly. "What's wrong? Are your wounds hurting? Let me see." He brushed my hand off and sulked. "Go to Adrian Xiao. What are you doing here?" "Oh, are you jealous?" My laughter rang out. He suddenly turned and pinched my cheeks. "Laugh, go on. Laugh all you like. You saw another man behind my back and even let him touch you." I stifled my mirth and held his hand. "You left me first. Right after you went, I just happened to run into Adrian Xiao. So really, it's your fault. Who told you to leave me alone? He was speechless for a moment, then fumed. "You'll be the death of me." I patted his head. "All right, no more teasing. Listen, I think Adrian Xiao deliberately sought me out that night to hurt us both. I laid out the state of court and Adrian Xiao's motives, calmly analyzing everything. He tilted his head, listening. When I finished, his first question was, "Then which of us do you like more, me or Adrian Xiao?" I smacked him on the forehead. "Is that where your focus is? Did you hear anything I just said?" He suddenly clutched his chest and groaned. "Ah, Lily, you hit my wound, it hurts so much." "I hit your head," I said flatly. He froze, then grabbed his head instead. "Ah, dizzy, Lily, rub it for me." "Fine." I sat him up and gently massaged his head. He pillowed his head on my thighs, eyes half closed in bliss. I had the sudden urge to hit him again. I balled my fists and forced myself to hold back. "You weren't always like this. Where did you learn these tricks?" He flushed and bit his lip. "I asked Lydia's most favored boy toys to teach me." Princess Lydia's boy toys? What on earth went through his mind? I laughed, exasperated. "You are the crown prince. Why are you learning from male concubines? Do you want to be one?" He wrapped his arms around me, shy. "I want to be Lily's pet." I fought to keep my lips from curling too high. "Then that depends on how you behave from now on." The next day, the emperor ordered the spring hunt halted and returned to the capital city. A few days later, he summoned Prince Adrian to the palace. The palace servants said the emperor had flown into a terrible rage, even smashing a teacup on Adrian Xiao's head. With blood on his hair, Adrian Xiao knelt, not daring to utter a word. Clearly, the emperor had unraveled the plot against the crown prince. Out of fatherly affection, he didn't publicly condemn Adrian Xiao. Even so, Adrian Xiao lost the emperor's favor and much of his standing. Ethan Xiao, on the other hand, remained diligent and dutiful. He won praise for caring about the people. If not for his habit of climbing my wall, I might have believed he was a proper, steady crown prince. One day, he did it again, scrambling over the wall and squatting outside my courtyard, imitating a cuckoo. "You could just walk through the main gate," I said. "Why always climb the wall?" He patted the dust off his clothes. "Ah, but having them announce me is such a fuss." "Tell the truth," I snapped. He shivered twice, then pouted. "I want to see you every day, but I'm afraid people will mock me, say the crown prince can't live without his wife. Now that's more like it." Satisfied, I beckoned him closer and handed him a scarlet pouch embroidered with coiling dragons. "I went to a temple recently and got a protection charm. I stitched it inside this pouch. You can put spices in it. It's practical and auspicious. Here, you can have it." He took it with delight and came right up to me. "Why didn't you embroider mandarin ducks on it? If it had mandarin ducks and you wore it, you'd be laughed at." He thought for a moment, then said, "Tie a cord on it for me. I'll wear it around my neck, under my clothes. No one will see." I pictured it. "A cord around your neck? Like a dog?" He glared at me. I glared right back and turned away pointedly. He instantly deflated and leaned to my ear. All right, don't be mad. I'll be a puppy. Woof woof." I couldn't help laughing. With a crown prince like this, the country must be doomed. Days slipped by. Summer came, and with it a month of relentless rain. The Yellow River burst its banks, flooding countless fields, leaving the people homeless. The emperor ordered disaster relief, allocating hundreds of thousands of taels of silver and opening government granaries. But despite all that money, half a month later, the disaster hadn't eased. Bodies lay everywhere. The people lived in misery. Enraged, the emperor sent the crown prince to oversee relief efforts. When he reached Jinzhou, he stumbled into a much bigger case. The prefect of Jinzhou had opened an iron mine in secret. That alone was a capital crime. Knowing how grave the matter was, the crown prince dared not decide on his own and came back to report. Strangely, the prefect of Jinzhou was a distant relative of Minister Feng, and the document authorizing the mine bore Prince Adrian's seal. The mine had been running for 3 years, and every bit of ore had vanished without a trace. Hearing this, the emperor was furious and immediately ordered Prince Adrian's arrest. Unexpectedly, Adrian Xiao was one step ahead, rushing in with a memorial, confessing his faults and protesting ignorance. He blamed everything on Rose Feng, claiming she'd stolen his seal. Because he loved her too much, he had been kept in the dark. The emperor, rather than punishing Prince Adrian, swiftly condemned the house of Feng. Pitifully, more than 200 members of the family were sentenced to death. Something felt wrong to me. It had all gone too smoothly. If Rose truly was behind it, Adrian Xiao's reaction was much too quick. And the emperor, suspicious as he was, didn't investigate and simply condemned the Fangs. Very strange. To find answers, I went to Heaven's prison to see Rose. She clutched my hand, sobbing with regret. Sister Lu, I know I treated you badly before. If I tell you the truth now, will you believe me? I nodded. Tell me. She lifted her head to stare at the patch of sky visible through the tiny window, then spoke slowly. I'm from the 21st century, from the future. When I accidentally ended up here, I thought I was Heaven's favorite. I thought with my future knowledge, I could make a name for myself easily. All those poems I wrote were plagiarized. I just wanted the reputation of the capital city's #1 poetess, as a stepping stone to marry up. Then Prince Adrian came to me. He said he loved me, said he'd be emperor one day, and make me empress. I believed his lies, so I took you as my imaginary rival and went against you at every turn. Later, through me, he pulled my father into his camp. He and the prefect of Jinzhou promised my father countless benefits if he opened the mine. They said once he took the throne, my father would be a founding hero, enjoying endless glory and wealth. My father let greed blind him and agreed to help Adrian seize the throne. Adrian sent a trusted aide to manage the mine. A huge amount of ore was shipped out every year, all to places we knew nothing about. My father thought, if something happened, at least Adrian would have to share the blame, and if worst came to worst, he could drag Adrian down with him. But we never expected the emperor not to investigate and just believe Adrian's lies, and then rush to execute us. Sister Lu, I'm innocent. I'm truly innocent. I didn't even become a princess, much less an empress, and now I'm going to die. I thought I was the heroine of this world, but I forgot I was just ordinary in my own. These people are schemers through and through. I was the fool who wagered my life and let myself be played. In the end, I'm the one dying in their place. Sister Lu, you must be careful of that scumbag Prince Adrian. Kill him for me. You must kill him. I watched her scream and sob, my feelings a tangle. It would be the last time I'd ever see her. That very night, news came from Heaven's prison. Rose Feng had hanged herself in fear of punishment. I'd expected it, but still broke out in a cold sweat. Adrian Xiao was even more ruthless than I'd thought. By comparison, Ethan Xiao's mind was simple and straightforward. Could he really defeat Adrian Xiao? The next day when he came, I hugged him from behind. To be honest, I don't really want to be empress. I'd be happy if we could just live as an ordinary couple. I just want you safe. He turned and held me close, smiling. What silly thing is that to say? Who said you can't be empress? I pouted and began to cry. I knew that even if he stepped aside, we wouldn't survive, so I wiped my tears and hugged him tighter. Ethan Xiao? I really want to be with you. He glanced around. We're together, aren't we? That's not what I mean. I mean that kind of together. His eyes went wide. Here? Ethan Xiao fled. I kicked the table leg in fury. Damn it, what a waste of my feelings. I ignored him for several days. In the end, he couldn't take it and came to whisper, Lily, don't worry, father isn't an idiot. I frowned. What do you mean? He pursed his lips into a small smile. The matter is too large to explain in detail, but I promise you, I'll keep you safe. I'll protect the Lu family and myself. So believe me, the way I believed you. In that instant, a great peace settled over me. I sniffled and leaned on him. All right, I believe you. Take good care of yourself. If you lose a single hair, I'll hold you to account. He patted my shoulder gently. I'll listen to you. A few days later, the House of Feng and the prefect of Jinzhou were executed to the 9th degree. Over 400 people from both families were dragged to execution market and beheaded over 3 days and 3 nights. For days afterward, there was the stench of blood in the very wind of the capital city. The common folk were so frightened, they barely dared to step outside. Yet Adrian Xiao came out unscathed and even regained the emperor's favor. Soon, someone impeached the crown prince for failing at disaster relief, listing countless crimes. The emperor, in a rage, deposed him and expelled him from the eastern palace, confining him in the southern garden. When I heard, it felt like the sky had collapsed. But I couldn't enter southern garden, and he couldn't come out. I cried through many nights, consumed by fear. He had always been so honored and high above others. Now reduced to a prisoner, would he be afraid? Would he be bullied? Would he do something foolish? The more I thought, the more terrified I became, until I could only squat at the southern garden gate day after day, hoping for some scrap of news. On the third day, a kite suddenly floated out above the high wall, shaped like a swallow. I stared up at it for a long time, and then I understood. Recently, Ethan Shao had often recited a psalm to me. Spring day feast, green wine, a cup, and a psalm complete. Now I bow and make 3 wishes. First, may my Lord live 1,000 years. Second, may I stay forever well. Third, may we be like the swallows on the beam, meeting every year, year after year. A Lord who lives 1,000 years, I safe and sound, meeting year after year. I wiped my tears and gazed at the little swallow in the sky. Ethan Shao, I understand. I'm not afraid anymore. We still have a long life ahead. I believe you. I'll wait for you. When I returned home, I was stunned to find Adrian Shao there. With him was the palace eunuch announcing an edict, the same one as before. Ironically, this time the decree was to make me his princess consort. I knelt as he read, my head buzzing. I couldn't hear a word. I only knew I was being forced to marry Adrian Shao. Absurd. Utterly absurd. When the eunuch finished, I still hadn't reached out for the scroll. Adrian Shao stepped forward, pinched my chin, and smiled darkly. What's wrong, Lily? Weren't you once head over heels for me? We're to be wed now. Aren't you happy? My fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms and I felt no pain. His fingers dug in harder. Lily, you know what happens if you refuse an imperial decree. I closed my eyes, my throat tight. Your servant accepts the edict. Only then did he let go, satisfied. That's better. From now on, you needn't leave the manor. Just stay home and wait for me to marry you. He threw back his head and laughed as he walked out. My heart twisted into a knot. Ethan Shao, you better hurry. From the moment I took the decree, I was confined to the manor. Adrian Shao came often, but I feigned illness and refused to see him. I kept pretending until I actually fell mildly ill. Bored and bedridden, I sat at my desk and copied the poem Spring Day Feast over and over. Half a month later, the emperor suddenly fell gravely ill. Adrian Xiao had no time for me anymore. I looked out the window. The sky was thick with gathering clouds. Change was coming. After some days, chaos erupted in the capital city. Ivy rushed in, crying, "They're killing people. There are corpses everywhere. I heard, Prince Adrian, he's rebelled." My brush paused. I pulled my fox fur stole tighter and kept writing as I said, "What's there to panic over? Just shut the gates." I'd long guessed he would. The iron mine in Jinzhou had been open for 3 years and all its ore had mysteriously vanished. They said the prefect had sold it. Ridiculous. Iron could make farming tools, but more importantly, weapons. Clearly, Adrian Xiao had harbored treason since 3 years ago. He'd plotted his way to this moment. With the emperor ill and the crown prince deposed and unreplaced, now was the perfect time to seize the throne. Yet in one's proudest moment, cracks always showed. He was no exception. Ivy, seeing my silence, cried harder. "Miss, what do we do? If His Highness kills the emperor and takes the throne, will he spare us? The way he looks at you scares me." Calmly, I drew on the paper. "Look, Ivy, what do you think of this picture? A mantis stalking a cicada, a yellow bird behind. Isn't it clever?" She didn't understand and just sobbed harder. A few days later, word came from the palace. Adrian Xiao had taken control of the imperial palace and needed only to force the emperor to abdicate. Triumphant, he sent for me to be brought inside. When I arrived, he stood in the center of the golden hall wearing a dragon robe, his laughter wild. Seeing me, he grabbed my hand. "Lily, look, I did it. I'm the final victor. Ethan Xiao is nothing. In a bit, I'll have him dragged here and castrated. I'll make him your slave. How's that?" I stood meekly with lowered eyes. "If that is your Majesty's wish, it will surely be done." "Pleased," he waved his arm. "Well said. I'll make you empress at once. We'll marry tonight." I pressed my lips together. "Your Majesty, wait. The emperor hasn't officially abdicated. Your title has no legitimacy. The empress is my maternal cousin. If she persuades the emperor, things will go much more smoothly. Why not let me try?" Adrian Xiao considered and nodded. "You're right. We'll do as you say." Half an hour later, I escorted the empress to the emperor's bedchamber. He lay on the bed, head thrown back, looking barely alive. I waved for the attendants to withdraw. Once it was just the 3 of us, I leaned to the emperor's ear and whispered, "Your Majesty, stop acting. Take us to the secret passage." His eyes flew open, strong and clear. "Secret passage? What secret passage? I know nothing. The Empress kicked his leg. Old fox, still playing dumb? Believe it or not, I'll beat you black and blue. He shot upright, clutching his leg with one hand and jabbing a finger at me with the other. You brought her too? The Empress kicked his backside twice. Don't want your daughter-in-law? You can explain that to him later when he comes back. He glanced at me, muttered under his breath, then waved. Fine, fine. Come on in, both of you. The three of us hid in the secret chamber for 5 days. Outside, the sounds of battle and screams rose and fell without end. My heart clenched over and over, with fear for Ethan Zhao, for my parents and Ivy. The Empress seemed to sense my worry. She patted my hand. Don't be afraid. Believe in him. He'll protect your family. I nodded, but my tears wouldn't stop. On the 6th day, the noise outside suddenly stopped. The stone door swung open. Ethan Zhao stood there in silver armor, like a god come to earth. Ethan Zhao. I threw myself into his arms, sobbing, my tears falling like broken beads. I had 1,000 things to say, but when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. He stroked my back gently. It's over, Lily. Don't be afraid anymore. Later I learned that on the 5th day of his confinement, he had slipped out of the capital city. He'd taken the Tiger Tally to the capital garrison camp and raised troops there, then met up with 2 generals summoned by imperial order. In less than 3 days, they annihilated the rebels outside the city. On the 4th day, their agents inside opened the city gates, and his army swept in, taking control and storming the imperial palace. By the time Adrian Zhao realized what was happening, it was too late. He was captured alive. His rebel generals were all executed. Out of mercy for his son, the emperor spared him public humiliation and gave him a cup of poisoned wine, letting him die intact. On the day of the execution, I went to Heaven's prison to see Adrian Zhao. He sat on the ground, hair loose, eyes empty, like something already dead. When he saw me, he scrambled to his feet and laughed suddenly. Lily, you've come to see me one last time? So you still care for me, don't you? No, I came with my future husband. I waved to Ethan Zhao, who had been waiting in the shadows. He stepped out. We stood together before Adrian Zhao, fingers entwined. I rose up and planted a kiss on Ethan Zhao's cheek. The other side too, he said, turning his face. I kissed his other cheek. Adrian Zhao froze, his last smile stiffening on his face. It took a long time before he could move again. He stared at me, furious. Lily Lu, must you show me this? I'm about to die. So what if you are? I met his gaze coldly. All this calamity began with your greed. I once belonged to you, but for your great cause, you were the first to cast me aside. Why should I take you back? The Empress raised you with kindness, and yet you turned your blade on her. It chills the heart. And Ethan Zhao, who grew up with you as a brother, always treated you well. How did you treat him? You could have had a wife, a brother, parents. You threw all of it away. Your wild ambition destroyed everything. He laughed then, his face twisted. Ambition? As a prince, wanting the throne is ambition? You call me greedy. But do you know what it was like? I was a concubine's son. The Empress wouldn't support me. What was wrong with fighting for myself? I shook my head. Do you know that when you raised your rebellion, the tribes of the southwest and northwest seized the chance to attack, and even the pirates in the east grew restless? You never cared for the people. How could you be a good emperor? You say you're a concubine's son, but the Empress herself was born a concubine's daughter. She rose to the throne of Empress through her talent and virtue. It's clear the Emperor doesn't judge by birth. The officials support the Crown Prince because he's diligent, cares for the people, and is respectful, filial, and kind. When the Yellow River flooded, he personally oversaw the disaster relief and won the people's hearts. Meanwhile, what were your men doing? Using your name to siphon off relief grain, leaving bodies in the streets. Is that how you rule a country? Stop! I don't want to hear it. Ah! Adrian Zhao crouched, clutching his head, sobbing. It's time, Ethan Zhao said, taking my hand. We should go. I looked at Adrian Zhao one last time. I had once loved him so sincerely. He wasn't worthy. Outside, a cold wind cut through the air. I shivered. Ethan Zhao shrugged off his cloak and wrapped it around me, rubbing my hair. Silly thing, wearing so little. Are you cold? I leaned against his shoulder and smiled. Not with you here. Autumn had come. In a few days we would be wed. Mother had invited 2 old matrons from the imperial palace to teach me court etiquette. I lounged there. I've known palace etiquette for years. Why learn it again? Ivy nudged me and whispered, Miss, it's the, bedchamber etiquette. Oh, that was different. I straightened up at once and applied myself diligently. After a few days, I was full of inspiration. I caught Ivy. Go make me 2 dice. I want them like this and this. Follow my instructions exactly, understand? On the wedding night, Ethan Zhao lifted my red veil, peeked at me shyly, then cupped my face, ready to kiss me. I pushed him away and pulled 2 dice from my sleeve, winking. Your Highness, want to play something exciting? He flushed red in an instant, eyes dropping. All right. I shook the dice with a wicked grin. High wins. Loser takes off a piece of clothing. An incense stick later, he cried. No more. I've lost everything. I don't even have my underpants left, and you haven't taken off a single thing. I ran my gaze up and down his bare body, swallowing. Leaning close to his ear, I whispered, Let's change the rules. Loser gets tied hand and foot. How about that? He curled his lips, raising his brows twice. All right, this time I'll roll, which was how he ended up bound hand and foot and tossed on the bed. He panicked, struggling. No, this isn't right. We haven't consummated yet. I want to consummate the marriage. I hooked a finger under his chin, tracing down the line of his neck. Who says we can't consummate it like this? A look of dawning horror crossed his face. Ah, no. On the carved wooden bed, the tassels hanging from the 4 posts swayed like butterflies in a breeze. Outside, the night wind was cool. The full moon shone through the window, spilling over the acacia blossoms there. Flowers in bloom, moon full and round. The next morning, I was sleeping soundly when he suddenly shifted. I blinked awake and met his aggrieved eyes. I stroked his cheek. What is it, Your Highness? He squirmed and looked at me pitifully. Lily, will you untie me? I have to go to court. If I'm late, Father will scold me. I thought for a moment. All right. I undid the knots. Right then, I felt a murderous aura in the air. Before I could react, he rolled over and pinned me beneath him, a wicked smile on his lips. Lily, did you forget? Since we've just married, Father gave me leave from court. My pupils shrank. So? He buried his face in my neck and kissed the skin lightly. So you're done for. 7 years later, the emperor passed away. Ethan Zhao took the throne and named me Empress. One day, I was in the imperial study teaching our children when he sneaked in and hid in a corner. So what if he was emperor? If I wanted to hit him, I still would. The 3 children stood in a row against the wall, trembling like leaves in the wind. Holding up a piece of calligraphy, I fumed. Look at this chicken scratch. It's even uglier than your father's. None of you take after me at all. The crown prince shivered and whispered, Mother, last time you said my painting was good, that I had your talent. I thought a moment and nodded. That painting was indeed good. Very much like me. The second princess pouted. Mother, that's not fair. When we do something good, we take after you. When we do something bad, we're like Father. He's so pitiful. From behind the screen, Ethan Zhao gave her a thumbs up. So a thoughtful little cotton-padded jacket, is she? The third prince bobbed his head. Yeah. Ethan Zhao pleased tried to tiptoe away. Stop right there. Ethan Zhao, look at these children you sired, not one of them easy to handle. I grabbed him from behind the screen and dragged him out. He blinked innocently. Then, what does Lily want to do? What do I want? We'll have another one. Grabbing his collar, I hauled him toward our bedchamber.